Welcome to a new episode of We're Not Afraid of the Dark. And as our longtime listeners know, we usually do a movie review between each season, but we have some special content now that we're going to do in between seasons. And we have a special guest on the podcast today. He has a book out there called The Are You Afraid of the Dark Campfire Companion. Please welcome to the show, Jose Prendes.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for being on. And I want to mention some funny things that how we connected, actually, because I was on Amazon a few months ago looking for those novelizations of Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. I think it was like Night and Neighbors they had a book of.
Right.
And your book came up as a recommendation in the feed. And you actually reached out to me on Instagram a few days later mentioning the book. I'm like, oh, hey, this is a coincidence.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to dig those novels, but we'll get to that at some point because you have a listing of all the novels in your book.
Yeah, they made quite a few. I think they only, it's been a while since I put the book out, but I think they only adapted like 3 or 4 of the episodes into novels, and then I think the rest were all just kind of originals. But quality, is hit or miss. As you sort of would expect with that type of literature, but it's as a collector, I'm trying to find all of them. So just sort of nostalgia's sake, which is sort of what spawned the book in the first place. I'm trying to get all the books as well.
Yeah, and this book here is filled with a bunch of varied contents. Correct me if I'm wrong with this, but it's basically you're dissecting every single episode. I saw a cast listing, synopsis, some trivia, and my favorite part about each section of the show is actually your review because I like hearing some different testimonies of these episodes.
Yeah, what I wanted to do was, first of all, for the beginning was for me, the book was, I started rewatching the series. This was one of my favorite shows as a kid. I loved it, and it was it caught me at the right time, and it was my favorite thing on Nickelodeon next to Rugrats. So I watched every episode multiple times, and then I found the DVDs on Amazon, and I started watching with my daughter, who was 8 at the time, and she fell in love with it. And I said, man, I wonder if anybody else remembers this show. And I asked a lot of my horror friends here in LA, and a lot of them remembered the show, but they either were too young or too old for it. So none of them had that connection I had with it. And then I looked deeper into it, and there was no book sort of celebrating the series. And, my next step was like, well, maybe I could write a book about it. And so I reached out to DJ McHale, who was surprisingly easy to get a hold of. He's got Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff and his website. And I sent them an email, say, hey, I'd love to write a book sort of covering the series. Would you be interested in sort of just helping me out, or at least just letting me interview you? And he said, absolutely. And at that point, the doors opened in terms of accessibility to, the production crew. Made it easier to put it all together. And then I just had to go find a publisher, and the book was born. And so the goal was to take every episode, not just do, an episode list and say, hey, this is what happens in the episode. That's not as important to me. What's important to me is sort of how the episode, worked in the general scope of the series. Because, when you're looking at an anthology series, it's not like Goosebumps where every episode is different. Are You Afraid of the Dark had the Midnight Society, which connected every story in a way. So they had their continuing storyline. And so that was our through line for the entire series. And so I sort of wanted to focus on that as opposed to what the episode was. But the review part, that is really where the fun of it comes, because then it's like, well, does this story even make sense, or is this even worth your time?
Yeah, we found that out a lot when we started doing the podcast, because we hadn't seen some of these episodes in 25 years. And I've completely forgot some even existed, even though I watched this series. Kind of like you. I mean, it's my favorite show on Nickelodeon. And some of them I watched probably 10 times. The other ones I probably watched 2 times and just forgot the whole episode because it was completely unforgettable.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a couple of rough ones, but then there's a whole bunch that are just phenomenal and surprising, for kids' TV, back in the day.
Yeah, I'm also I clearly agree with you on the point. There was very little, and I rewatched the series a little bit in college back in 2003, 2005. Even back then, like I remember a bunch of bootleg sites, even before YouTube days, had the episodes on it, but there was very little actual content out there. And yeah, I hadn't found another book of nonfiction that was actually about the show. There is an Are You Afraid of the Dark wiki on like fandom.com. I don't know if you ever checked out.
Oh yeah, that was very helpful. The wiki pages and IMDb. I used all that for research. The one issue I kept running into was air dates. The air dates were always off.
Yeah, I noticed that. And oh, go ahead.
No, that's basically the air dates were always off, and even DJ McHale was like, "No, go by what IMDb says," but IMDb's dates made no sense at all. So I actually ended up using the wiki dates because that made the most clear sense in terms of like when the episodes would actually have aired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also noticed because we used to cite the wiki page often in the early days of our podcast, but there was like a lot of spelling and grammar errors. It literally was written by a 7-year-old, so we just stopped caring about it. And I tried editing it. He denied my edit, so I said, "Well, fuck this. I'm not going to use this again." That's how we roll this podcast.
The info's good, but yeah. Well, on the internet, it's hard to find perfectly grammatical writing, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I like your book in this context as well because you have trivia on here that I didn't see online anywhere. And the first one I want to bring up is actually one of the first episodes. Because you mentioned, and I have no idea about this, that apparently one of the writers, Chloe Brown, is actually DJ McHale as a pen name.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that nobody knew at the time. So what happened was I was asking DJ McHale, like he says, "Hey, I can help you get in touch with people." So I was like, "Hey, that's fantastic because I need I need a letter of introduction, talking about the book." So I gave him a list of people I wanted to talk to, and Chloe was on the list. And he said, "Well, I can help you with one name already. Chloe Brown is actually me." And so I asked him, "Well, what do you mean? Like, well, why did you go under a pen name?" And he said, "I was doing so much on the series that it kind of felt like, kind of pretentious to like having my name on it all over the place. So he took the name of Chloe Brown just so that he didn't feel like he didn't want people to think he was like the master of the show or something. Like he was like, taking complete ownership of it." So I kind of understood that from a writing perspective, that he just didn't want to feel like pretentious in the sense that sort of he was writing, because he was basically writing almost every episode in the first 5 seasons. So he just didn't want to make that as evident. So that's a little known trivia. Chloe Brown does not exist, and she's actually a he.
Yeah, and that solidifies the point that I've seen online where they say she has no online presence at all. Well, that's why. It's a fictional person.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, here's a piece of trivia I don't know if you know the answer to. Me and Ben caught this in, I think it was the Dangerous Soup episode. Is Dr. Vink's beard fake? Is that a prop?
No, I think it's real.
I know he's clean shaven and laughing in the dark, but there was a few moments where it looked like it was detached from his face at one point.
That's a good question. I could reach out to DJ and ask him. That never crossed my mind. That's a good question, but I think it's real.
Yeah, it was the first time we ever saw it. Like we've seen like 3 episodes already with Dr. Vink in it, and of course I watched it for 25 years. That was the first time. Is that actually a prop?
So it's interesting because he's in the pilot. I forget the name of. He's in that first episode. And as Dr. Vink, and he's got the beard, and then he's laughing in the dark, and you're right, he is clean shaven. So what I'm guessing is he had the beard for the pilot, and then he shaved. Then they brought him back for laughing in the dark, and then he just kind of grew it out. We don't see him again until Midnight Madness in season 2. So I'm guessing I would assume he grew it out, but I can follow up with DJ and get back to you on that.
Yeah, please do, and just tag us in an Instagram post.
Well, we'll do.
Yeah, we haven't had contact with him yet. We're kind of just waiting to fill it out a bit because we're talking so much shit on the podcast. Well, yeah, we mentioned a few times. Ben actually said he just wants DJ McHale to say "fuck you guys," and that's his dream. So
I love it.
yeah, we do love the show. That's why we're dedicated hours of our life to doing a podcast of it.
Well, it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and just go back to the time thing, because I know on Wikipedia they say that the first episode, which is the Twisted Claw episode, aired Halloween night in 1990, and it was like 1991. I remember watching it that night, that Halloween that it came out. But I think there was like a year gap or something between seasons, between the Canada airing and the U.S.
Well, the Twisted Claw, was the first episode filmed, but it's technically the pilot. But the way the season works is Phantom Cab was episode 1. That's the one I was thinking about with Dr. Vink. Phantom Cab is considered episode 1, then Twisted Claw became episode. I'm looking at my book just double check. Twisted Claw became episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Twisted Claw showed Halloween night, and that was sort of like the introduction to the series. But then, they really had nothing else until I guess that airing went well, and then they said, okay, yeah, make the series. And I forget the decision why, Twisted Claw did not remain episode 1, but that's what happened.
Yeah, because I remember a few of those had that like Door in the Sky intro. I think it was like 4 or 6 episodes that had that, and that was really distinctive of that, because that episode also starts out straight into like a fantasy scene that somebody's telling the Midnight Society, and that was the only one who did that. Although we've also had the argument on the podcast, maybe you know this as well. This is kind of like fan lore, but how many stories did the Midnight Society actually tell each night? Was it just one or like multiple people? Because someone's obviously telling another story in that episode.
That's interesting. Okay, so you're asking how many episodes, like how many stories did they tell in the real world of the Midnight Society?
Yeah, because I mean, some of them start out they're just all getting there at the same point. Others start out where they're already there. So I mean, was it one story they're telling a night or multiple?
Oh, that's interesting. I think they've done it. Yeah, I think they did that maybe once or twice where they were sort of in the middle of something. But usually, at least it seems like the DNA of the series was they all got together for one story and then left. At least that was sort of the general impression, was that they met once a night, once a week. I guess that wasn't very clear, but I think it was normally just one story a night. At least that was the idea.
I forgot the actor's name who played Eric, but he had a interview spot in the book called Slime and Oral History of Nickelodeon, which pretty much interviews cast and crew from early 80s Nickelodeon until about mid-90s. And that actor, and I believe it was the guy who plays Frank in your book, because you got an interview with him, mentioned that they actually filmed all of the campfire scenes like in a few days in like 1 month time span.
Yeah, it was. It's very interesting. The forest was in a warehouse. It wasn't out in the woods. It was obviously it's a set. It's a great looking set. They had a live campfire indoors, and
wait, that was live.
Yeah.
Because we caught a goof a few weeks ago on one of the episodes of season 3 where Gary pours the water over top of the flame, and like it's like 2 seconds later the flame actually goes out like it was on a gas line. That was the first time I saw like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That may have been. They might have had a gas flame under it, but that's very possible, especially if you are filming in an enclosed situation. You would want to be able to turn it off. So it makes sense that they would have done it that way.
Yeah, it's like blatantly obvious. And we posted that on Instagram actually, because we always do an Instagram preview. Instagram has a minute limit on video, so we just take a minute of some of the best clips of our episodes and put it all there. So that was on one of them recently.
Nice.
But yeah, you have interviews with a lot of different people in this book. It's the section called "The Tale of the Witnesses." We got Richard DeMond on here, who plays Sardo. The composer of the series, Jeff Fisher, did a lot of episodes. Ross Hall, of course, series creator DJ McHale, and a popular director of the show, Ron Oliver. Just a few of the people listed here.
Yeah, it was, that was important for me too. I didn't want, as a fan, I didn't want to just because the episode guides are online, and a review is my opinion, and who am I to give my opinion? I'm just the guy who liked the show. So as a fan, I wanted to give other fans a chance to hear from the makers, and whatever cast I could get. I tried to get Eric from season 1. I reached out to all the actors, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to get in touch with a lot of them. But I'm glad I got Gary. That was amazing. Ross is a really cool dude. But it was important for me to sort of give the fans like me a chance to hear from them, and ask them the burning questions that I had, and hopefully other people's had, and take it from there so that they can get a richer, kind of broader perspective of the series and what it was like making the series, and all that good stuff. And so it sort of elevated it from just an episode guide to, hey, this is as close as a sort of a testimonial, gift to the series and to the fans that you're going to get. And so far people have been really, really enjoying it. And I've been hearing from a lot of people saying, hey, thanks for writing this. This is amazing. And I know it's hopefully has sparked the sales of the Are You Afraid of the Dark DVDs.
I thought those were bootlegs on Amazon, by the way, because they're the same ones that are on Nickelodeon Play on YouTube.
Yeah, Amazon can't sell. Yeah, you can't sell bootlegs on Amazon, so it's the ones at Amazon, because there's the actual box sets. I forget who put them on. It wasn't Nickelodeon, but there are actual box sets that are really nice and they fold out. I've got a couple of those, and then I think I only have season 3 in the Amazon version. It's just like it comes in one case, but it brings like 4 discs. Those are legit releases because Amazon isn't allowed to sell bootlegs.
Yeah, because I heard they released the DVD in Canada.
Yep.
And then that was like the official one. Because I've also seen another YouTube version that's actually, it's blocked in America because of those country codes, but there was a high quality version of Are You Afraid of the Dark on there that's higher quality than the Nickelodeon Play ones. And they kind of did a specs ratio, so it was widescreen now. But yeah, I kind of like watching the like bootleg VHS rips just for the nostalgic purpose of it.
I get you. That makes sense.
Just go back to the interview. Did you have any luck with Aaron Tager? Because I know he's like mid-80s by now.
Yeah, he was on. Somebody had interviewed him on YouTube, and I reached out to that guy, and he said, "Oh, it's been a while since I interviewed Mr. Tager, but here's his phone number." I tried the number, and it didn't go anywhere. So. Unfortunately, I was not able to get a hold of Dr. Vink, which would have been amazing. But luckily, I got Sardo, which is just wonderful, and he was just such a wonderful person to speak to. He was very, very excited and very proud of his work. And
nice.
I would say Sardo appears more than Vink, and so I feel if anything, he's the face of the series.
Yeah. Well, I'm also wondering why they have not done a reunion with this show yet, because like Sleepy Shorts cast did a Comic-Con a few years ago, and again recently. I don't think Hey Dude ever did it. The guys at Pete and Pete have a podcast together.
Yeah,
we're seeing all these groups come back together. I just don't know, because Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of these weird series it was incredibly popular, but yeah, again, there's this like weird disconnect. In some fandoms, I would call them, that some other shows have more that were maybe even less popular than Are You Afraid of the Dark.
Yeah, it's very it is very weird. I think that the problem is the cast is so big, and it changed almost every season. A lot of those cast members are now pretty big. Elijah Cuthbert's pretty big. Oh man, I'm blanking on her name. Joanne. I forget her name, but she was.
She plays Sam, right?
Yeah, Sam. She's Joanne Garcia. She's got a pretty big career now as well. Ross Hull is a meteorologist in Canada. So and Jason Ali Sharon, who was Frank, he's a producer here in Los Angeles. So everybody has very kind of distinct paths that they've taken. So I think maybe. And now this isn't to say that the other show, that the actors in the other shows have not succeeded in later life, but maybe they have less going on, and so they're able to sort of get together on stuff.
I would say when some people rip on these child actors that they say they're heard from, I'm like, well, they're child actors. I mean, they probably got different interests later in life. They haven't been sleeping in a closet with the lights off for 25 years.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm funny enough that you mentioned, the other Nickelodeon shows. I'm actually really good friends with Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts.
Nice.
He lives out here. He's a really good dude, and he's just kind of hanging out now, but he's able to sort of, go to conventions and things, and I just think a lot of the Are You Afraid people are sort of very spread out, and half of them are in Canada, half of them are in Los Angeles or New York. So I think it's tricky to bring everybody together, but somebody should. And who knows, now that they're making a movie, which blows my mind, that this is being pulled off, and unfortunately DJ McHale is not involved, which sucks. Go
figure. It was his child. It has nothing to do with it, right?
Right, exactly. Like, well, yeah, why call that guy? It's like making the Goosebumps movie, but like, yeah, we're not going to talk to R.L. Stein. Why would we do that? Yeah, it's very, very bizarre. But maybe when that comes out, it'll sort of reinvigorate interest in the series as a whole, and maybe we'll see something at Comic-Con next year. Who knows?
Well, speaking of that, I just want to get your opinion on this. Is this movie going to be aimed at the target demographic of the original Are You Afraid of the Dark, which was probably about 7 to 13 years old, or is it going to be aimed at people our age who grew up with the original show?
Oh, it's going to be for kids. It absolutely is.
I don't know why the hell they're doing that, though. I mean, Goosebumps had a little more lifespan. I mean, but anybody who showed, or any of the kids who watched Are You Afraid of the Dark is because their parents. Just like you said earlier, you showed your daughter. Ben's fiance Ashley was on the show a lot. We just had our 11-year-old kid on here. We asked him, "Have you heard of the show?" No. Has anybody at your school ever talked about the show? No. So we saw a generational gap there. I think they should have went all out and turned this movie coming out to rated R, no holds bar, like straight up adult horror, but same Midnight Society, maybe like an anthology, kind of like the Twilight Zone movie was, with like 4 stories.
Right. And I think that's probably what they will do. I think they're gonna. At least I hope they'll. I know nothing about it, but I hope they're gonna continue and do the Midnight Society and all that stuff. And do that. I'm guessing it's gonna be an anthology type movie. I'm not sure it's gonna be like the Goosebumps movie that came out a couple years ago, which I thought was really good. I thought they kind of captured the spirit of the series with that one. But I don't know. It's so weird. I think that they saw what Goosebumps did, and they want to try and capture that with Are You Afraid of the Dark. It's a very different, it's a very different series. Are You Afraid of the Dark, had balls, and Goosebumps doesn't, But it's, I think Are You Afraid of the Dark was always sort of aimed at an older audience. So I doubt that they're going to go R-rated. That may be what they do with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, because they're bringing that one out.
They would have to with that series. Like that thing was terrifying.
Oh my God, horrifying! I still remember the drawings. Jesus Christ.
Nightmares for weeks.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I think hopefully they'll do it with that one. Maybe PG-13 at the most. Studios now are so scared of our ratings. But I don't know. Are You Afraid of the Dark is such an anomaly to me in terms of what the movie will be, that I'm on pins and needles like everybody else to see. Are they gonna fuck it up? Or are they gonna do something that relaunches the series, which would be phenomenal.
There is a fun part of your book that's called Ready in the Red Bucket, where you actually come out with some fantasy situations of what happened to the actual Midnight Society members after they grow up.
Yeah, that was sort of closure for me, because we never got a chance to see.
Well, this would be perfect. The movie, they should absolutely, even if it's not the same actors, at least mention some of these type of situations. It's got to be really cool, especially considering in the actual canon of the series, it was Gary's grandfather that was like one of the founding members of the society. So we imagine that probably his kids are now in it, or even his grandkids, depending if there's teens of pregnancy involved.
I know that would be amazing. But I was contacted by Ross Hull, and he asked, "Hey, do you know anything about this movie? You know, do you know anybody I can get in contact with?" And I didn't. I couldn't help him. So I know they haven't reached out to the original cast.
You know, I was thinking to myself, what the fuck are these idiots thinking? I mean, are they actually having a meeting? And they're like, there's 5 things that are going to piss people off, so we're not going to get the original creator in here at all. Fuck the original cast members. Who cares about them? Let's just steal the name and do what we want. I mean, what's actually happening here in these conversations? That's the first thing all the fans are thinking about. They're thinking, we want to see some cast members come back. We want some of the original things because we like the show for a reason. It's probably because the people were creating things we like.
Dude, absolutely. I think that's. I honestly, I don't even think they've watched the original series. I think they're just like, oh, anthology show. Okay, cool name. All right, yeah, we'll figure it out.
You know, it kind of reminds me of like them selling like rock band T-shirts. They sell like American Eagle. Like the 12-year-old girls were walking around with Ramones shirts, and like, who the fuck are the Ramones? Oh, the shirt looks cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly right. They're sort of stealing our culture, the stuff we love, but not really understanding why it's loved and why it's appreciated. And it does not bode well, my friend, for what's coming our way. But who knows? We may be surprised.
There's another cool section of your book. I think these have never seen before, and they're cast photos actually provided by some of the cast and crew.
Yeah. That's another little fun extra for the fans. You get to see some really exclusive pictures, like super behind the scenes photos that come from, mostly Ron Oliver and DJ McHale and Ross Hull. They were very kind enough to go back and rummage through their old pictures and send me a whole bunch of great stuff that is, as a fan, it's like it's amazing to see that, the behind the scenes fun, people in costumes, people goofing around, it's, all that stuff is great because you see that, the DNA of what made the show great is that sort of that camaraderie that you could feel, and I love seeing all that stuff.
Yeah, I saw like the guy who played Ghastly Glitter in there posted with Ron Oliver. There's a young Ryan Gosling in one of the photos from the station 109.1 episode.
Yeah.
And I actually, when we talked about some of the episodes before in our podcast, we were thinking to ourselves, like, what the hell is happening behind the scenes, especially with some of the props? And like, we go online trying to find some photos, and it's really, really hard to find like any photos from behind the scene from Are You Afraid of the Dark online.
Oh yeah. I mean, because it was back in the day, and so there was no internet, and people didn't really
scanning. Yeah. Do you know anything about this damn character who plays the goal in the book as babysitter? It's like the evil witch character. Because we were theorizing that's the same actor that plays Ghastly Glitter, but the version we found online like cut the credits off, and there's no credit for them on IMDb.
The Bookish Babysitter. That's actually one of my favorite episodes.
You mentioned that should be your favorite by far in season 3.
Oh yeah. That it was so good. Hold on, let me. You know what? Let me look it up. I just pulled out my book. I may have it in there. I don't know.
Wait, you actually see on here that the witch, who I think is a man. Yeah, that was definitely a guy at drag, and we thought he was drunk and high when he was acting in the scene, just because it was so over the top. It said go uncredited in the episode for unknown reasons. So perhaps this is another DJ McHale question. It was directed by Ian Patterson. I don't know if you had a chance to reach out to him as well.
Yeah, I didn't speak with Ian. I think Ian was one of those. I think he did like maybe. Actually, I don't remember. Ian might have done like 5 episodes altogether. But yeah, there was a lot of uncredited parts in that episode. Now that I think about it, and I'm not sure why that was. That was never. I brought that up to DJ. I'll you know what? I'm gonna take a note and I'll write that. I'll ask him what that was about.
Well, also as we're watching some of these episodes, like the acting seems to be hit or miss a lot of times. It's either the person was experienced or went on to be experienced, or it was really obscure. This was the only credit, and we were thinking about and theorizing where some of these actors came from. For instance, the witch in the Pinball Wizard episode is kind of so over the top. It's almost like that woman in your neighborhood when you're trick or treating against kids. That's like trying to speak all the kids and be cool. And, like takes really pride in their costume.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're wondering if they just like found somebody like the guy in drag in the Book's Babysitter. We really thought he was just hanging out on a set, maybe a friend, had a few Budweisers before the film. Like, oh shit, the actor didn't show up, so let's just throw this guy in here.
I don't doubt it. I'm a filmmaker too, and when you're under the gun and either over budget or under time, and you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta pull miracles out of your ass, and maybe hey, we don't have a girl on set. Okay, you look like a woman. Get in drag. I'm sure
me and Ben made a movie, Hookman 2. We mentioned the podcast a lot, and that was the same situation. Though we once were about to film something, our actor who was supposed to show up 30 minutes before we were going to film says, "I can't make it." I said, "Well, thanks, asshole, for letting us know." So,
right.
We had one actor in that movie play 5 different parts, and it was just a running joke.
Yeah, it happens, man. It's the perils of filmmaking, man. You can't control life for too long.
Speaking of some good acting and just about trivia, some of these episodes, actually not trivia, but rather review, you said something interesting in the Frozen Ghost portion of this. And it was something we kind of caught on. The episode of Frozen Ghost, of course, is a babysitter and her rich kid client gets sent to their aunt's house. And you say, well, why not just make them siblings? It's kind of odd that he spent time with a strange aunt and the parents and a babysitter with them. But there's a line in that episode where they actually say Daffy's bid Charles babysitter since he was a baby. But she's like 5 years older. So was she fucking babysitting when she was like 7 years old?
Yeah.
But what I think really happened, I think they wrote that episode with the older actress in mind. And all of a sudden, since Klickstein explains it all was still really big, Melissa Joan Hart says she's available and they're still in that role.
Right. Yeah. No, Frozen Ghost is one of my least favorite episodes. For that's one of the many reasons. It's just very illogical and it's kind of lame, and the whole thing with the gold doesn't make any sense. It's not good.
And that's one of the top rated ones. I used to see like people's top 10 list.
I know, it's so weird. I don't understand.
All right, so let's dive into this. We talked about this before recording a little bit. Just your top 5 episodes. Let's start positive.
Okay, top 5. Okay, it's hard for me because I love a lot of these, but top 5, no particular order. It's gonna be Tale of the Dark music. Is amazing. It's so dark. It's frightening, and it has one of the best endings of any episode.
I really want to know what happened to that evil ass doll that gave people so many fucking nightmares, because that thing is terrifying looking. And it's the preview for all the fucking like cover arts when you look up the episode online. So they want to give you more nightmares.
Right.
But I want to know where that prop is.
I'm sure all this stuff is in storage somewhere in Canada, and no one's giving it a second thought, which is is so sad to think about. But I'm sure that's where it is. It's I don't think it's been thrown out, but I'm sure it's stored somewhere that no one even remembers.
And maybe DJ McHale just brings that every Halloween as a prank, or just puts it on his porch or something.
Oh, that would be amazing. I'm sure because I've mentioned my list to him. I'm sure he would have mentioned that. That would have been great.
Yeah, that's a top one for me as well, by the way.
Yeah, it's so good. It's friggin' like if you want to get people into Are You Afraid of the Dark, I'd say starting with that one. It
only has a few flaws in it. The one flaw is we don't see anybody doing paper routes, and until like the bullying episode hates like loud music, but he's like a rock guy.
Yeah.
But another funny thing was like when he destroys his bike, like the bike part just like perfectly lands right in front of him after getting hit by a semi truck.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's movie magic, Unfortunately, nothing can be perfect, but yeah. So we got dark music. Then the next one, this one I think is way scarier than Laughing in the Dark, and that's the Crimson Clown, which is phenomenally frightening and such a good story. I think it's my favorite of that season. I forget what season it's in. I want to say season 4.
Yeah, so season 3. We just actually I'm recording this on July 27th, by the way. That episode is coming out this Tuesday, so it's already on the podcast. And we watched that one with Ashley, his 11-year-old. And he's like,
Nice.
he's trying to act all badass that it wasn't scary at all. Shit, like, but that fucking Stretch Armstrong clown hand coming out of a TV was terrifying.
Jeez, man, there's so many good, like, freaky moments in that. I mean, it's a wonderful episode.
Yeah, the only issue we saw when we watched it really was, did they make the clown a little less terrifying on purpose with like the more colorful hair and stuff? Because like in Laughing in the Dark, when the kid's walking through there to steal the nose, like that clown with a lot of props on him, who's a live actor, is terrifying looking. Especially as a kid. But I don't like comparing them though, because I think they're two different types of clowns, and it's two different types of episodes.
And in a way they're similar because they're both clowns stalking kids. But then it's sort of like, well, is Zeebo real, or was it the Carney? You know, was it, because we never really see Zeebo, so was it the Carney chasing the kid down? You know, it's very interesting. Laughing in the Dark, how it sort of it plays with your perception. It doesn't necessarily answer anything, but it's very it's a solid episode. I love Laughing in the Dark, for sure. But Crimson Clown's got like it goes full Pennywise for me. So
yeah,
that's why my favorite.
And this trivia portion in the book mentions that the actual Crimson Clown sold at auction for over $11,000 a few years ago. And who the hell bought this damn thing? What are they doing with it? I mean, are they like collecting it on their YouTube page or Instagram? But is it sitting on the shelf?
Yeah, that's. I mean, hey, it's nice to know there's like rich collectors out there for Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's great. Okay, so that was two. Okay, my next one would be The Tale of the Midnight Madness. You know, the opener for season 2. As a movie fan, I love stuff set in movie theaters. Dr. Vink comes back and probably his greatest role. I love him in that episode, I have a blast with that episode.
That was the second one in season 2. The first one was that terrible episode, The Final Wish, with Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh God, yeah, that was horrible. Yeah.
Well, that was another episode where we were like, how the fuck did Bobcat get in this episode? Because at that time, like, he was all like married with children. And like Shakes the Clown, like all this adult comedy stuff, is someone just up and throws them on a kids' TV show?
Yeah, I don't know how much he enjoyed being on that, but yeah, that was not a very good episode at all. Yeah,
that was one of our favorites as well. That the Midnight Madness, and that was one of the ones I think had some of the best imagery that was memorable for a lot of people, just because the vampire looked great. It was in a cool setting with this historical theater. Just a very good art direction. Absolutely.
And the fourth one we spoke on is Bookish Babysitter. I love Bookish Babysitter. I think it has a great plot. It's nonstop action. There's an actual character arc, and I wish that they had brought the babysitter back, but they never did. I wanted her to be like, that was one of my great regrets of the series, that she didn't become like the female Sardou or whatever. That would have been amazing.
Well, maybe she got arrested because Ashley brought up a point that she makes a comment to the mom at the end. She's like, when we see one of the kids, she's like, "Oh, I need to pay you." She said, "I already got paid." It's like, what the fuck? So,
yeah.
What happened inside there?
That's true, and like, it's like, well, no wonder he wants you to come back. What did she give him BJ's? I mean, that's. Yes, there are some weird elements to that. I agree.
And there's a lot of episodes we found that have like these weird undertones of like human trafficking in the what the hell, 13th floor. That was it. Like they say, we want the girl and not the guy, and then like there's a scene where she's being kidnapped and stuff. It's kind of terrifying, actually.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun to be had if you look subtextually at some of these episodes. Let's see. Well, okay, I got two that I love, so I'm going to give you my top 6 because I couldn't decide between them. So the next one is Dead Man's Float from season 5. Dead Man's Float has the best monster in the entire series. It's like this red zombie-looking thing. It is amazing, and it's also a really decent episode as well. It's not. Season 5 is pretty rough. Season 5 onward it gets pretty rough, but Dead Man's Flow was a stellar episode.
Yeah, it's always on top of my list. It also has one of my childhood fantasies, and we saw this in The Adventures of Pete and Pete as well, and that's finding a part of your skull that you never knew about. Because I think he finds it behind like the lockers and stuff, and Adventures of Pete and Pete, like they just are locked in the skull overnight, and like they're finding all this cool stuff. But I always was fantasized about that as a kid, like just trying to go through the skull and find like some secret stuff.
Yeah. That's wish fulfillment for kids. That makes for the best episodes for sure.
Yeah, I think DJ McHale in that Slime book mentioned a good thing as well. Like these writers were coming up with these stories of, like about an evil car, and he's like, "Well, who are the kids, and what are they thinking? Because that's who's watching this, and he's gonna like it."
Right. I can say my last one, my sixth one that I can sort of like pick as an all-time favorite is going to be Tales of the Dream Girl, which may or may not have inspired The Sixth Sense. It's a great episode. I love the Tale of the Dream Girl. It's a beautiful episode, and it's not a scary one, but it shows you what good storytelling and good drama can do, for a kids show, which is pretty phenomenal.
I thought you were going to say inspired masturbation, because I mentioned in our review for that girl playing the Dream Girl is a 10 out of 10.
Well, you know what? Then it inspired that as well. It's full of inspiration, that episode.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, we get a little creative here once a few drinks start hitting in. This is one of the very, very few separate recordings of this podcast. All right, let's dive into this worst, because this is always a big argument with people. And before we dive into this portion here, I want to get your opinion on this part. Your book luckily does this, because a lot of people neglect it, and that covers the last 2 seasons. So the show went off air for a little bit, it came back. I don't remember anything of those 2 seasons, and I purposely have not watched any of them recently because I want it to be a surprise when we're going to record it. And it's probably going to be like 2 years before we get to that point. But our younger sister did watch the last 2 seasons when it was out new. She's about 9 years younger than me.
Okay.
Or 7 years younger. And she was in the podcast recording a few episodes ago, and I asked her if she remembered any of it. She said no. So, she watched it as a kid. She forgot about it. She remembered the original run. So, can you just kind of give a synopsis of the last 2 seasons and how that compared to the original run?
For me, I absolutely think that the last 2 seasons are not as great story-wise, as the first 5 seasons. They feel very similar in terms of the DNA of the series, but they're very story-wise, in terms of the writing, it's pretty poor. I would say my favorite thing, though, is the new Midnight Society, which is now I'm blanking on Ross's brother's name.
Tucker.
Tucker is now the new leader of Midnight Society 2.0. And the new Midnight Society is great. I kind of liked all the new members, and that's sort of what really made those last 2 seasons really enjoyable, is that the new Midnight Society is really cool. You got Elijah Cuthbert, who is a little cutie, and Tucker's a really fun leader. He's pretty much himself, but he's a little more mature now. And everyone else, Bench, like all those characters, are really enjoyable. And what we get in the last season, season 7, is we get the Midnight Society actually being the stars of a 3-part epic episode called The Tale of the Silver Sight, which is amazing because now the new Midnight Society gets to actually be the leads, and they kind of come into their own even more. And you get Ross coming back as Gary, and it's a pretty amazing episode. And if I wish that had been the final episode of the series, but unfortunately it starts season 7 instead, and the final episode is pretty random, which doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. but we get that 3-part episode where the Midnight Society, we hear the whole history of the Midnight Society, and Gary's grandfather, all that stuff. That's a pretty special 3-parter, and I think that really brought, that was basically, as DJ had mentioned, that was sort of the idea for the Are You Afraid of the Dark movie. So they were able to sort of go out with that, and if we got, if giving us these kind of 2, I wouldn't say they're piss poor seasons, but they're not the best seasons. If we had to get these 2 kind of whatever seasons to get those 3 episodes, then whatever. For me, it was worth it because it's a pretty amazing way to sort of give the Midnight Society some more muscle story wise, and it was rewarding for me in terms of the series as a whole. But yeah, the last 2 seasons are not very good, tale wise. Season 6 almost feels like they wanted to go all digital. Almost all the stories are either about like haunted Tamagotchi or whatever the fuck, and it almost feels like the people writing it don't even understand technology, and it's pretty rough. Those last 2 seasons are pretty rough, yeah.
Because I wonder how many of your worst episodes are actually in those 2 seasons.
Well, I'd say probably the bulk of them are in those 2 seasons. My most hated episode is the Tale of Jake the Snake, which I don't recall. I think that's actually season 5, maybe season 6. I think it's 5. But Tale of Jake the Snake is absolutely the dumbest episode ever. It just makes no sense.
It's worse than Jake the Leprechaun. That was terrible.
I like Jake the Leprechaun. I thought that was kind of a fun one.
We were bugging on that all the time. Our favorite part was when he chases the midget. Yeah, we used that word on the podcast. He chases the little person on the in the garden, and the fence is not attached to anything. He hits him in the dick with the gate. It's like attached to absolute zero.
Yeah. Again, it's none of this is perfect, but it's enjoyable, and I liked sort of the magical realism of Jake and the Leprechaun. But no, Jake the Snake is on a whole other level of like what the fuckery. I mean, I can't even be. It has to do with hockey and cobra ghosts or something. So how those connect, it makes no sense. And that'll be a fun one for you guys to discover, because it is horrible.
Now, if I would, I'll add this if you want me to. There is one mistake in this book where on Jake the Snake, you say this is the first time we see anything hockey related on the show, but actually we had a hockey scene in Laugh in the Dark.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's right. The boys are playing hockey. Yeah. Well, that's
yeah, because we're bugging on that scene because when we're reviewing that on the podcast, we're like, yeah, they're in fucking Canada. They have to be playing hockey. And like the kids' bedroom is a whole fucking hockey rink. This is crazy.
Yeah, but Jake the Snake is the only one that focuses strictly on hockey. It is like It is about hockey. It's not like, oh, kids are playing hockey in the background. This is like the hockey meets wizards kind of stupid bullshit.
Well, I can't wait to see this one because I don't even have no recollection of this episode at all.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I thought you were gonna say I'm lucky.
Well, yeah, if you want to skip it, go ahead. Or when you watch it, get really drunk, you may enjoy it even more.
Yeah, that's every episode anyway. All right, number 2, most hated.
Oh, Frozen Ghost, probably. Frozen Ghost is really bad. As we discussed, just like really bad writing and just really dumb elements. Those are actually the only 2 that jump out at me. Is like, oh, and then there's one, gosh, and it's season 6, and I actually think it's the Haunted Tamagotchi one, which is like really, really stupid. And the finale is basically this girl trying to hack her computer, and it's just her typing, and somehow they try to make that suspenseful, but it's not. I forget the name of it, and at this point, it doesn't matter. It's Most of season 6 pretty much stinks.
Yeah, we're gonna have a field day when we get to that point.
Oh yeah. Season 7 has Silver Sight, that 3-parter, which is amazing. And then it's got another really good one called The Last Dance. That's another really beautiful episode. Season 7 is better, but season 6 is really pretty much. DJ had no interaction with the series at that point. It was a whole new creative team, and it was it's rough. It's rough.
Now, the episode that stood out to us recently that we all hated. There was like 4 of us who watched this, and we were like, well, actually, one of us had to stop the episode halfway through because they actually gave up and said, "Let's just record. I'm done with this fucking episode already." And that was the Film Police episode.
The which one episode?
The Film Police.
Oh, Phone Police. Yeah.
Because we're like, the story is stupid. There's like a bunch of plot holes in it. The acting's terrible. There's a lot of mistakes in the episode as well. Like the guy has the name of the house wrong and stuff. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Phone Police is garbage. It's a fun one, but it's more like what would scare kids? Oh man, what if they're prank calling and then it works against them? And it's not a strong episode by any means.
Yeah, we're trying to think of the moral things that they were trying to project in some of this episode because it was like trying to teach kids lessons and stuff.
Yeah, and luckily, at least as far as DJ told me, Nickelodeon never said, "Hey, make sure you push, kids to stay off drugs or whatever." It's they were basically left alone to do whatever. So,
Nice.
whatever they wrote was, sort of whatever they wanted to come up with, which for better or worse, is the show.
I don't think there's a horror anthology out there right now for kids.
No, just the Goosebumps, movies, which the sequel's coming out this year, and we'll see how that is. I like the first one. I don't know what you guys thought about the movie, but I thought it was pretty good.
We didn't watch it, but I don't remember watching Goosebumps the show when it first aired. It came out a few years after I was already out of the Goosebumps books. I remember reading those like 1996, and I can't remember exactly when the TV show came out. But I actually watched the Living Dummy 2 episode the other day. It was on Netflix. And I was laughing through most of it. It scared the shit out of me when I first saw it, I think. But I was just laughing at how corny it was.
Yeah, Living Dummy was a really fun bunch of episodes. And it's funny because Slabby became the face of the series. And I don't even think that was the original intention. I'm actually working on a book right now similar to Are You Afraid of the Dark? Campfire Companion, which will be all about the Goosebumps series, which right now is just called. I think I'm just calling it the Goosebumps television companion or something like that. We haven't really finalized the name for it yet, but it'll deal with all 4 seasons of Goosebumps and same thing. Interviews. I'm talking with Dan Angel pretty soon. He's like the head writer on the series. And we're gonna have interviews, photos, really detailed episode breakdowns, and it's funny because you see Are You Afraid of the Dark and it has some rough episodes, and then you see Goosebumps and man, Goosebumps has some really horrendous episodes. I mean, they're like even like writing wise, production wise, I would say it makes Are You Afraid of the Dark look like Lawrence of Arabia,
Well, funny, my girlfriend was a fan of Goosebumps show. Like, she showed me this one episode just for fun a few months ago. Where like there was a scene where there's a monster shown. It cuts to a scene of a little girl screaming, and then it cuts to the exact same shot of the monster. Like the editor just copied it over. It's like, how was that done on purpose, or what the hell was happening here?
Yeah, see, I haven't had a chance to do the interview portion yet, so maybe if you guys do a Goosebumps podcast, let me know, and the book will be out by then. Then I can give you some of the nitty gritty. But I think they, with anything, I think they didn't have a lot of money, they didn't have a lot of time. I mean, a show like a half-hour show, they shoot hour shows in a week, so a half-hour show probably has 3 or 4 days. I mean, I think that's what Are You Afraid of the Dark had in terms of how they shot their stories. So it's not a lot of time. You're dealing with kids, which Canada has the same rules, so you can't shoot with a kid 12 hours like you could a grown up. So there's a lot of restrictions. So I would imagine shortcuts were taken just to get it through. Like with Are You Afraid of the Dark, when they did the campfire stuff, they shot it all in like 2 months, and then that was the first thing they shot, and then they did the stories. So yeah, you're gonna see a lot of continuity errors just because shit happens. As you know, production is difficult, and controlling reality is not easy.
That's true. And we found your book on Amazon. Where else can people find this?
It's available predominantly on Amazon right now. We're looking to get into Barnes and Nobles and things like that. Every once in a while, the publisher, BearManor Media, and I believe that's the website, just BearManor Media, like the animal bear. BearManor Media has discounts throughout the year, 20%, 30%, and you can find it on that website as well, with some pretty healthy discounts throughout the year.
Nice. And I'll put your website in the show notes, by the way, for this episode.
Oh, sweet, thank you.
Anything else, Jose?
Yeah, I just want to mention, with concurrently, writing the Goosebumps book, I have just started a business locally here in Southern California. If you're in the Los Angeles, Pasadena, sort of a Malibu area, I'm doing a new business. It's a ghost tour. It's called Haunted Hiking, and our website's easy to find. It's hauntedhiking.com. And we offer not your average ghost tour. We take you on a haunted hike. We give you the ghost hunting tools. We give you flashlights. We go out in the middle of the night, and we go to the some of the freakiest, sort of like most active haunted forests around Southern California, and we look for ghosts. So we tell you the stories, the true stories of stuff that's taking place at these certain locations, and we also share the lore of what people have reported, happening at these locations, and then we give you have the tools in your hands, and we give you time to sort of explore and maybe find your own evidence. So I just started that up, and we start doing officially hiking August 3rd and 4th. We go Fridays and Saturdays, and hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're in the area, please check out the website and join us on a hike.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Anytime you come down, let me know, man. I'll take you out.
I haven't been to California in like 9 years now. My brother was stationed in Ventura County.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, what branch was he?
Navy.
Oh, nice. Very cool. And hey, I just want to say thank you so much for your show, for keeping the Are You Afraid of the Dark love alive. I was on another podcast where they were doing a similar thing, and I just really appreciate people who are as I tell them, thank you for keeping the campfire lit, because it's a very special show. Obviously has a special place in my heart, and whenever I see people embracing the show, loving the show, or remembering the show, as a creator, it's wonderful to know that you've affected people's lives, and you've made a difference, even in a slight way, of just like put something in their minds that they remember, that they enjoy. And so, that's something I wanted to celebrate as a fan. And I'm glad that there's other fans out there that are, keeping the campfire lit and doing their best to say, hey, Are You Afraid of the Dark is an amazing show, and as far as we're concerned, it's never going to die. And so thank you very much for keeping the campfire lit, my friend.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And we get a lot of entertainment out of reviewing things that we really, really missed as a kid, because we weren't thinking about some of these details of these episodes back then. It just was what it was.
Right.
And well, funny with our podcast, though, we have people who listen to us who actually never saw Are You Afraid of the Dark. Just like the banner going back and forth. They say that they actually know what the story's happening just because we're talking about it and going off cuff from there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping they start, with this movie. If they do go the kids route, at least bring the fucking show back on TV for like a few weeks before. Maybe could be a good marketing technique.
Yeah, somebody told me that they were showing it, like they were that Nickelodeon has started airing it, but I don't have live TV anymore, so I can't double check that. But maybe somebody can let us know. That'd be great.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. Again, Jose's book is the Are You Afraid of the Dark? Campfire Companion, found on Amazon. There'll be a link in the show notes for that. See everybody next time.
Are you afraid of the dark? Are you afraid